friends. Welcome to episode number 2 of Let's Talk with Gina, which is also going to become Let's Move with Gina here in a minute. First, let's talk. Today we're going to talk about starting a cardio program, which I think is always step number 1 when you want to start getting in shape and starting a workout program. I usually tell people to start off with a little cardio, and then we move into core training, and then we move into total body strength training. So cardio, super important. The benefits to your heart, to your lungs, to your muscles, your whole entire body and your mind will benefit from a cardio program. Now, how do we start? If you're wanting to do something super simple, I suggest walking, jogging, running. That's a great place to start. If you've never moved before, you want to walk. If you are in decent shape and you just want to work on your cardio, start a jogging program. There are 3 steps. Step number 1 is warming up. This is so important. Sometimes you'll see races on the Olympics, or if you're watching a track meet or something, you'll see the athletes out and they're stretching before they work out or before they race. Now, their muscles are probably already warm because they have been practicing for a while. It isn't a great idea to start with long stretches. We're gonna start with first moving the body a little bit and then doing what we call dynamic stretches, which are stretches that are moving, not holding for a long time, but you're going through the stretch quickly. So I will show you what I mean by that. Step number 2 is the workout part, where your heart rate is getting up and you're breathing harder than you normally breathe. That's what makes your heart stronger. It's the principle of progressive overload. Works with strength training and with cardio. We have to do something a little bit harder than we're normally doing in order to strengthen a muscle, and that goes for the heart as well. Now, the best way to figure out how far you should be running, how fast you should be running, or cycling, or swimming, or biking, whatever it is you're doing, is by using what we call a scale of the rate of perceived exertion scale. So if we're talking about a scale of 1 to 10, 1 would be sitting on the couch or not moving at all. 10 would be all out, sprinting as hard as you can, gasping for air, barely, like you can't even hold it for more than just a couple seconds, right? Most of the time, especially when you're starting, you want to work up to where you're right in the middle, like maybe a 5 on that scale. So think about how hard does this feel. We're usually pretty good at using scales like that. I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. When you're at the RPE of 5, that is a great place to use what we call the talk test. So if you can hold a conversation, then you are probably in the right zone. But your breathing should be labored, okay? So but we can still talk and breathe, and we're not gasping, we're not unable to speak, right? We want to be able to hold a little bit of a conversation, and that is the perfect zone to stay in for a good 85% of your workout. Now, if you want to increase your cardio, then you'll go up to maybe a 7 on the RPE, where it feels pretty hard and you're breathing heavy. You can still talk, but maybe you only get 1 or 2 words out at a time. That is where you're going to really build your cardio. But again, you maybe only want to stay 10% of your workout in that. Maybe even for a few weeks, you just start out at level 5, where you can hold a conversation but you're breathing hard. And then after a few weeks, what the research suggests is the best way to build your cardio is to stay in zone, or in, they call it zone 2 as far as heart rate, but you're about at a 5 on the RPE, and then maybe every few minutes you bump it up and you go hard at a 7 on your RPE. And then you come back down to 5 for a few more minutes, and then you go 30 seconds at a 7 and then go back to 5. And you know, we can do a more in-depth video about that later. But for purposes here, great place to start is 5 on the RPE. Now, you want to do that as long as you can, and then push yourself a little harder. So if you're brand new to working out, you might only do 5 minutes. You might do 10 minutes, right? You might do 15. Ideally, you want to go at least 20 minutes. After 20, but work up to that. You don't have to do 20 minutes day 1. So you start wherever you are, and then try to go a little bit longer the next day, and then a little bit longer the next day. So maybe for the first week you run for 10 minutes, and then the next week you run for 15. And then you kind of work up to there. Step 3 is the cool down. That is when you slow your movements down. Excuse me. Whew, that's weird. So you slow down. Maybe you walk instead of run, or you bike a little slower, or you swim a little slower. And then that is when we do the longer stretching to help your muscles relax and prevent injury. We want to do the longer stretches. So let me just show you a little warm up with some dynamic stretching, and then a little bit of longer stretching. So I'm gonna hop up. You can try it with me, or you can do it later. I'm gonna hop up and scoot back and show you what I'm talking about. So, especially like if you're outside and you're gonna go for a run, you might just start by walking, right? Make sure that your arms are moving and your legs are moving, because once you go into a run, they're both gonna be moving too. And we wanna slowly warm up all the muscles that we're gonna use. Now, one thing I love is kickboxing. So if I was gonna kickbox, then I would start with, smaller, slower movements, but I'll just take you through my basic warm up. So I always start by marching, and I like to get a little bit of movement in each of my muscles before I start a workout. So I'll march for about 16 counts. I do everything on an 8 count. I don't know why. It's what we do. It's been done since the 80s when the dancing cardio was in. So I've done way more than 16 now because I'm talking. I cannot count and talk at the same time. So then I'll put my arms up like this and tap my legs out, or my toes out. So this is warming up the shoulders and the outer thighs and even the calves. And I'll do that about 16 times. And then I will bring my arms in and tap my toes in. So warming up the inner thighs, as well as the chest and a little bit of shoulders. And I'll count to 8 twice. Back up a little so my head doesn't get cut off. And then I like to bring my arms up and bring a knee up, or both knees up, alternating. And then after I do that 16 times, I bring my arms out, from my toe to my heel. So I get a little rotation in my core. Go through that, 2 counts of 8, and then Quinn makes fun of me. I don't know why, this is my favorite, and he thinks it looks silly. So I bring my arms up and pull back so that I'm warming up my back, and I kick the butt at the same time. Your heel does not have to actually kick your butt, but this warms up the back of your legs, the hamstrings. So, haha, Quint, if you're watching this best one. Okay, so now that all of our muscles are warm, we can do a dynamic stretch. So what I like to start with is just a squat and then a forward bend, and a squat and a forward bend. So, and you keep going, do that maybe 8 times. And the reason we're not doing the long stretch at the beginning is that our muscles are not warm yet. It's like the analogy they always use is if you had a rubber band and it was in the freezer, you'd pull it out and stretch and it will break, right? Whereas if it's warm, you've been holding it in your hand for a while, you can stretch it and it does not break. Okay, so I'll do that forward bend to kind of stretch out the back of my legs. And then I will, this is great for running too. So bring up the leg and pull it, give it a pull. Stretches out the glute muscles, kind of gets them ready for what they're about to do. And then I'll just do a little quad stretch, but quick like this. Okay, so we're not holding it. Just waking them up, getting them ready to run. Okay? And then you'll do your thing, go do your cardio thing, and when you come back, this is when we'll do the longer stretches because your body's warm and your muscles are tired and they need to stretch. So, great running stretch. This is called a runner's stretch. So, we're bringing the front leg to 90 degrees, lift, your back leg is on the toe, and you're just gonna shift forward and hold that for 10 to 30 seconds. My head has disappeared because I don't have a great camera, but we'll get there. And then I like to drop the knee and stretch out these hip flexors. These get really sore doing all sorts of cardio. So I've got my hips are squared and I'm pushing forward into my knee and I'm feeling the stretch here. And if you don't feel it, raise your arm and you should feel it. And you hold that for 10 to 30 seconds and then come back and put your heel up, lean forward, and this is a really great hamstring stretch. So you're gonna feel that under here where you were just running. 10 to 30 seconds on that. And then turn a little so you can see me. We'll go into a pigeon pose, which is a yoga pose. If you have the flexibility for it, if not, I can show you a different one. So I've got my leg at 90 degrees and I'm sitting on my hip. My other leg is behind me. And then I'm gonna lean forward until I feel a stretch in that outer hip area. Okay. And then I'm gonna go through the whole thing on the other side. So the runner stretch to the hip flexor, to the hamstring stretch, to the pigeon pose. Okay. Now, if the pigeon pose is hard to do, a great one is to just lay on your back, bring your knees up, well, bring one knee up, fold your ankle over the knee, and pull it back as far as you can, and you'll feel a stretch right there. And then I like to do the V stretch to stretch out the inner thighs and more of the hamstrings. You lean forward as far as you can and hold that for 10 to 30 seconds. And then we'll stand up and stretch out the quadriceps. So the front of your thighs, they're gonna get a lot of work in running, in cycling, really in every cardiovascular exercise. The reason your heart rate goes up is because these big muscles are moving constantly. So we need to stretch them because they were moving, they worked hard. And so we'll hold that for 10 to 30 seconds. Okay, so hopefully that was a good introduction to cardio. So have fun with it, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye.